right, we are live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're based. My name is Dalia. I'm from Elastic's community team. Today, we're here to hear from Massimo and Francois. They will talk to us about how to monitor your business processes, bringing business stakeholders and DevOps together. You can ask your questions during or ask at the end. We will try to answer them throughout the meetup. And yes, please go ahead from now, Massimo and Francois. I think you're muted. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, you're unmuted now.
Hi. Thank you, Dalia. Thank you for organizing this. And thank you, Massimo, to be here with me here. And I think we will wait a couple of minutes before we start. In the meantime, maybe I give you some introduction about why it is a meetup and what is the topic about this meetup. Of course, I hope that in the, let's say, in the audience, we will be a mixture of people, from technical people to business people, because it's the topic that I want to discuss. Especially, I also encourage you to put your comment in the chat. I want to hear your opinion as well, and about really working together, business and DevOps stakeholder in monitoring application, monitoring infrastructure. Here, I will tell also again, we will, let's say, discussing, or let's say we will have the full discussion around a typical e-commerce platform. And because I think that a lot of people our day are really common and really, let's say, familiar with this topic. And then we will talk about that. I don't know, I see that people are joining. And yes, what do you think, Massimo? Do you have some word to add? Shall we start? What do you think?
No, yes, we can start. Just to introduce myself just for 1 second, because otherwise they will ask who is this guy and where is coming from, why is here, not to do what. And so I'm a colleague of Francois. I cover Italy and Turkey, as a main market. I work as a solution architect in Elastic. I started more than 3 years ago, and I'm here just to share some stories that we will see later. Thanks, Francois, and hi to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Massimo. Thank you. And it's my honor to have you here, because I'm pretty sure that your business case will be really interest to a lot of people. And since you start with your introduction, let's start officially. And as well, I want to welcome and thank you again all the participants to be in this session. And unfortunately, it's a let's say it's a virtual session. I would love to see you face to face, but who knows? Maybe in the near future we will reorganize the similar topic, and we will be able to see face to face. Good. As Massimo already introduced himself, I introduce myself. I'm Francois, and I'm working as a solution architect in Elastic for the, let's say, we call the growth market, because it's not only Switzerland, but also the East Europe. And yes, I'm, let's say, supporting, and as also Massimo doing, supporting our customer to get more familiar with our platform, and even help them to be more productive on using our platform. In fact, based on this topic, I had the idea to talk about this topic in this event, and just to make you a little agenda, what we will touch today in this event. We will discuss about a bit regarding monitoring observability, then how and why we approach the business observability. We will start the discussion about business observability. Then, as I already mentioned, I and Massimo will share some use case me personally from a personal point of view of experience. And then, of course, one important point is what's next about this meetup, because from my point of view, it will be just a starting point of the discussion. In this event, I would love to present also some concrete demo, some concrete data, but you know, introducing the topic and showing you a demo, it was really too much. For this reason, say, let's set up for a next, let's say, event to cover really some concrete data and some having really some concrete case. Good. Let's start. And I want to start about one of the main, let's say, trend that we, let's say, we live in the last. I have to say personally, I am in the IT since 20 years, and it's 20 years that I hear about transforming and digital transformation, transforming the business. But more and more, I realize that in the last period, really, like probably you are agree with me in the we get really some unlock in the last 10 years. Just mentioned about ramp up the cloud infrastructure, having and talking about big data at that age, where a lot of people and a lot of business was required to have big data. And also about the scalability of your not infrastructure, but also the scalability of your business. And then more and more in the last, let's say, decade as well, artificial intelligence. And because artificial intelligence also was let's say, a driver of digital transformation, because you need data, and to collect data, you need to digitalize your business. And for this point of view, artificial intelligence was really a key factor also in the last period to ramp up. And then, unfortunately, to mention the last 2 years about pandemic situation, really force or better push the business, any kind of sizing, small or big enterprise, from public to private sector, to push the initiative to the digital transformation. And more, digital business is now a synonymous of the business. And this is really an important factor. But all this lead to a change. And this change, it's covering different aspects. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in the audience know and about this kind of change, but I would like just to mention some of them. And here, because it's, let's say, it's the basic for me for the discussion that we will have later. Just consider the transformation that happened in IT from a team point of view, where maybe 20, 15 years ago, IT team were like silos. They were the network team, they were the development team, they were the infrastructure team. They were almost always working in their silos, looking for their little kingdom. And but then more and more, let's say the infrastructure and the needs of the business became more global, more distributed, like, as I mentioned, the cloud, the distributed data. And this brings to remove this kind of silos from a, let's say, from a infrastructure point of view, from a team point of view, to share more data. In fact, I remember like 20 years ago when I was, for example, going to ask data from the network guy, saying, no, you are not allowed to as a software developer, you are not allowed to access to our network data. And, you know, just this concept behind that they were a long time ago completely change and bring exact what I mentioned here, a big change to the entire system and to the entire ecosystem of your infrastructure. And all this change bring to one main challenge and one main focus as well: bringing the best end experience to your customer. In fact, here I start to play with the word, because here we start to talk about also customer experience, because of course you are always to remember that on the other side of your platform, on the other side of your business, there are customers, and of course your business has to provide the best customer experience on the whatever platform you provide. Good. Having said that, let's go a bit more in detail of the topic. And then here I would like to mention about one key aspect of what happened in the last years, changing the traditional monitoring to observability. And then here I ask you, and please, as I say again, I really encourage you to write in the chat what is your point of view, and if you have a question, please write down, and we will take care almost at the end of the session. We really want to hear your voice. But actually, what is the risk of the business if you stay on the traditional monitoring and you don't move to a clear observability? And when I talk about observability here, just remember when I mentioned the different change, you want to have a full, let's say, visibility and observability on your ecosystem. Let's consider again an e-commerce platform where you are observe your entire ecosystem from a, let's say, infrastructure point of view, from a network point of view, from an application point of view. But there is always one missing part, because of course, as a platform owner, I'm able to say, oh, good, my web application, my web shop, it's up and running. The customer is able to navigate, the checkout process is working fine, and so on and so on. But what does, or better, let me go back. Behind your system, there is a business process. Of course, when you set up your e-commerce platform, you are not just IT discussing to put in place the e-commerce platform, but of course there were the business behind, and the business has always process behind. Of course, let's always take into consideration the e-commerce platform. You place an order, and this order has to be let's say processed, and then once that is processed, your let's say your goods has to ship. But who is let's say certified me, or let's say make me go to sleep in the evening and say, okay, all my orders are well placed, are well processed, they are well shipped, and let's say they are not stuck somewhere in, maybe due to my business process design, something has been blocked, or some, let's say, you can observe and monitoring everything, and just talking about from a, let's say, from a software development point of view, you can manage all your kind of exception, but you are sure that the unmanaged exception will happen someday. In fact, here I would like to, let's say, start the discussion about business observability. And please, again, I invite you to write in the chat what is for you business observability, because that is the main topic that we will talk this evening. And I hope also that you enjoy your evening. You are not there get annoyed by myself, but really you enjoy your drink, and then really think about your business observability. Good. About business observability, I would like to introduce you to a typical question that if you are working IT, or even better, if you are on the other side, on the business side, and you don't have a clear observability of your business, it happened one day or the other that you as a business, you go back to IT and say, hey, but my website is available, or my order are proceeding well. Why some order are blocked? Why that? Why that? I'm able to correlate data between my process, between my infrastructure, and many more. Of course, there are different questions, and these are the typical, let's say, I listed here because in a lot of occasion I was from one side, and in another occasion I was on the other side, from IT and business perspective, where you don't have a full picture of your business from an infrastructure point of view or from a process point of view, or even both in the really worst case. Good. Let's talk about three main, let's say, pillar about business observability. And here I would like to, let's say, emphasize the going beyond a unified observability. Let's say, building really a business-centric view on your observability. Here on the screen, you see, in fact, I mentioned the three main pillars. We have the customer experience, because of course, everything starts from the experience of your customer. What is the what is the perception of your customer on top of your service, application, or whatever you put on your customer side? And then also the digital infrastructure and the employee productivity. All these three pillars has to work together and to be success, let's say, to be really focus on providing the best and the let's say the most customer experience quality on your end customer. All these three pillars has to work together in a not only in a synergy point of view, but also let's talk also about data, because the data that you collect in these three pillars are really the key factor to bring the success of your business. In fact, about bringing these three pillars together, and maybe if somebody already attend, let's say, one of our demo of Elastic product, you recognize this small picture where we try to keep together all kind of KPI, bringing from log, metrics, APM, uptime, but even, and you realize I highlight business data, because here it played the role of your business observability, bringing all these, let's say, 5 components in this case, and then bringing together the developer, the operational, and the business together. It's really a winning factor. And yeah, based on that, I would like really to emphasize this aspect, to bringing all this data together to support the three pillars. Good. But of course, probably a lot of people in the room here, they think, okay, how to implement this kind of business observability? And I would like to say it's not rocket science to implement. In fact, I'm not here to present something that it's impossible to do. It's possible to do, and it's really easy. And of course, here I would like to show you how to implement this business observability thanks to our platform. But just think about you. I just to share with you some experience in 10 years ago, even more. I implemented a business observability just with a database, with a simple transactional database, collecting all the data and putting together and put some visualization. But of course, here today, we are here to talk about how we can support from an Elastic point of view. First of all, as I mentioned before, it's all about data. Remember, all about data. And why I talk about that? Because more and more, and probably if people know me from my meetups or my presentation, know already this slide. It's more than 10 years that I go out with this slide, because when I was working with BI department or data architecture, for one important aspect of the company, and one of the main goal or even oil of a company, it's the data. And the most important part is to find the right data, extract the right data, and then of course we can talk refine, enrich the data. But then the two main aspects that I always pushing is to distribute and make it actionable. This is the most important part of your data. Make your data alive data, let's say, that is useful, and you can really use to take some concrete action. In the business of observability matter, and if I take again the example of the e-commerce, just consider, if in my business observability I discover that one order it's locked because maybe the shipping method is not available on a specific country, and somehow process is not proceeding, I need some action to unlock this order and to make it and go through and make my customer happy to receive this order. But as I say, let's see how to implement. Good. Again, keep in mind the e-commerce ecosystem. Here, I really simplified a typical IT e-commerce ecosystem where you have your frontline accessing via internet with different component in your infrastructure, different programming language, different database, of course, different aspect to monitoring. And probably, let's say, people that working in this area that are here, they know well, okay, how to observe a similar platform like this. Of course, I take here the example of Elastic. You can observe and protect adopting Elastic Observability or Elastic Security. And then here, I emphasize to say, why just observe 100%, 180 degree of your e-commerce ecosystem? Because, as you remember, you are always in front also the business aspect, because of course you say you let's say monitoring on your screen, the left side of your screen, the infrastructure, the component, you integrate the data into the different monitoring system, observability system. But what happened with your process? Because the business process, let's say, it's what support, or better, it should be that your infrastructure support your business process in a best way. Having said that, the best is to move to a 360-degree observability. And here I take a concrete example. It's really simple. Sorry if I say just simple, but just considering all your business platform and all your business process produce data. And this data are available somewhere in, for example, in a transactional database, or even into your infrastructure system with some transactional ID. But all these information are available. And of course, if they are not available, probably are processes that are not digitalized. For this reason, I was discussing about the digital transformation at the beginning, because one of the main aspects is all these digital transformation process of your business. Good. Having said that, I would like also to expose, let's say, how to start your business observability. And these are like little steps that you can consider and you can take home this evening and maybe start to discuss with your IT and your business tomorrow. But if you want to monitor one, or let's say start with your business observability with a particular process, identify first the business process. I always let's say suggest to start with something small but important. Why? Small because it will be a bit less to implement. Important because you get visibility, and as soon you get visibility, you get the attention of the right person. Then once that you identify the business process, of course you have to identify the data that are linked on this process. And of course, here you need the help of your IT department, development department, to identify what are the good data to integrate to monitoring. And believe me, don't accept the typical answer to say, no, we don't have data. No, it's not possible. Always is possible to have the data from the business process. Always, if they are, let's say, digitalized, please really collaborate with your IT and your right people to get this information. And once that you identify the data together with your, let's say, with your IT, ask them to help you to integrate and model the data. Here you can start really simple. I did also this exercise really simple with Excel. Just try to export your transactional data, for example, your order data with in Excel, and start to build up the model of your data, and then start to check the data and the logic around your data, because this is really the key factor. Because once that you check your data and you understand the logic of your data, and you create, let's say, all the basic in order to visualize the data. Why? Because as I say, I come with a long experience in business intelligence, and I strongly believe that give a face to the data is the best that you can do in order to observe, monitoring, process system. You need to give a face to the data that you monitor. And then, of course, last but not least, sit together. Please, really sit together with your DevOps and business stakeholder in order to monitoring and observe this data that you want to observe. In fact, as you remember, the title of my meetup, it's bringing together really the DevOps and the business. Why? Because only working together and sit together, you can start to, let's say, investigate and troubleshooting potential problem that maybe could be impacted by an IT, let's say, infrastructure issue, or even, as I mentioned before, could it be that your business process has a problem that is not covering some particular exception? And then for this reason, maybe your probably your IT ecosystem, it's health, it's up and running perfectly, but unfortunately your business process is not, let's say, manage all the potential, let's say, potential exception, if we keep talking from an IT perspective. Good. We touch how, and then of course why you need to implement this business observability. We touch already a couple of aspects during this the last half an hour, but I would like to emphasize again, because it's not just enough to put on top your let's say, or let's say publish your website with your e-commerce platform with your product, and let it customer find your product and then produce the order and the revenue for you. But for you, it's really important from a business point of view, and from a let's say from a brand point of view. Let's start to talk about the brand. Really, when I talk brand, it's all the department, and not just the IT and just the business. Having really a real-time performance monitoring, and here in the use case, I would like to share with you one, let's say, concrete example where, thanks to the business observability, I was able to put together different team and having a real-time, let's say, picture of the business in on an e-commerce platform. Then, of course, since we talk about observability monitoring system, reduce the MTTR, and this is a key aspect. And again, not only mentioning resolve issue from an IT perspective, but also resolve issue from a business perspective. And this is a really important point to mention. Then, of course, if we start to talk about artificial intelligence, once that you start to put intelligence observability, you can start to reduce human and manual check in a way that you go more in the AI operation way. And then, as we mentioned before, not just identify issue, but also identify bottleneck. This is really an important aspect. Of course, I can go through this list more and more, and there are more to mention. But here, these are the most important aspect that, from my point of view, you should consider to think about your introducing or even enhance your business observability in your ecosystem. Good. Having said that, I would like to start to share with you some use case. Unfortunately, for let's say compliance, we cannot share the name, we cannot share the, let's say, concrete project, but we will be able to explain some concrete use case. And before I give the word to Massimo, I would like to share one of my personal experience. Let's say, more or less 10 years ago, I was responsible for the an e-commerce platform from a IT and data warehouse point of view, from a data point of view. In fact, one of my responsible was always asking me to provide them some dashboard where he can see the, let's say, the performance of the e-commerce. But when I start to talk with him, he was always mentioned, yeah, you have to check if the website is up and running, if the server is available, if we were using some SFTP service to place a supplier order, if the SFTP it's available. And then once I ask, okay, but what about all the business KPI? You're not interested if your website is producing, let's say, revenue? Because from a business point of view, that is the most important. For me, it's okay that the website and the e-commerce platform, it's up and running, but if it doesn't produce revenue, that is a problem. In fact, slowly, because I see that there were some barrier at the beginning, I start to add some step-by-step, some business KPI into a dashboard that it was pure IT KPI dashboard to monitoring the ecosystem. You don't believe, after 1 year, he ended up that the business KPI was more, let's say, more request, and was more visible of the typical IT KPI to have a dashboard to monitoring the business observability. It was a long journey. There were a lot of, let's say, barrier to put in place this, let's say, this infrastructure, this visibility on not only from an IT perspective point of view, but also from a business perspective, because you can just imagine maybe business were not, let's say, happy to share the daily revenue, or even it was a real-time revenue monitoring, where you in a graph you were able to see the revenue go up for every day, and then at the beginning of a day always started from zero. But yeah, it was a long journey, but I have to say it was a really success. And thanks to that, I can, let's say, share with you that the business was really beneficial of this kind of monitoring. Good. Having said that, I would like to pass the ball to Massimo, because I'm pretty sure that he has another great example to share. And Massimo, the ball is yours.
Thank you very much, Francois. So the story is quite simple. So we are talking about a telco company, one of the major telco company in Italy, and they had two issues essentially. The first was troubleshooting one. So what was happening, and the technical problem. So what was happening is that the company was losing a very high number of orders. So because they were not able to understand where the orders were stopped. Okay, so the orders, we are talking about orders of activation of a SIM card, or installation of ADSL, or the fiber at home, no? So, and so important, so I buy an ADSL, I ask for the activation, and the activation will never happen. And so I start to call the call center, and they are not able to understand where the activation is stopped and then why it's taking so long time. So what they were just doing, they were opening a ticket to the IT department. So the call center was opening a ticket to the department, and the IT department was trying to go to search inside the logs, application logs, and to check the status in the database and the CRM, thing like this, to understand what was going on. It was taking sometimes days. Sometimes they were not able to understand exactly con precision what was happening. So sometimes the solution was just to redo the orders again. That of course was not nice. So this was one of the main issue that they had from a technical point of view. And that also was very bad from an image, because these things were becoming common, in Italy. So everybody was knew that, So someone saying, I wanted to buy the DSL from, and the other one, and a friend probably will say, no, don't do that. I did it last year, and I waited for 3 months, and I never received it. So this is what was happening. The second issue was a business one. So they were not able to understand in all the process of the activation of ADSL or SIM. The SIM card was much easier. The ADSL or the fiber more complicated, because also there is some physical activity that must be done. So they were not able to understand where the activation was wasting the majority of the time. So inside all the steps, what was the step that with the higher impact of the total activation time? Because of course you need to understand what is it and then to optimize it. So it can be an internal procedure, can be some software, can be a physical problem, because you need the technician that are going physically in the house to activate it. They were not able to know it. And so when the company was asking to the IT department, where we are losing time, they were not able to answer. And so with these two issues, they try to solve first, creating a centralized login platform, saying, okay, so we store all the logs of the company inside the MySQL database, And they tried then to use it for the troubleshooting. But soon they realized that they were trying to store 100 terabytes of logs inside of MySQL database. And as you can imagine, they had some small problems of performance. And also was not useful because you have to do full text search inside. So they tried to move it on Elastic. Okay, so let's use a search engine. But again, to have all the logs was not enough. Because when you have an issue, so what you know is the order number. So I'm doing an order of a new ADSL or a new SIM card. I get an order ID. So when I'm calling because I haven't received it yet or it is not activated yet, what I do? I give the order ID, or I open a ticket on the website, giving the order ID. So they need to search for this order ID inside of the logs. But if the application not storing or writing in the logs the order ID, so they don't know what was happening. So they realized that the logs, they were absolutely not useful for this purpose. And in any case, only with the logs that they were able to answer to the second question. So the business question, the business was asking where we are losing time. Of course, it was not possible to answer with only the centralized logging system. So they decided to do a next step. So that was to use our APM. So they installed the APM agent inside the application, and they did the custom instrumentation. So calling the APM agent API, adding the information of the order ID. So that means that in every single transaction that was happening in every single service, because as you can imagine, they have a services architecture. It's not a microservice, it's a services architecture, because the activation of a SIM card, for example, is composed by a lot of steps. It's a service that is called a service, or called a service, and also they are calling external also components, services. And so for each service, they were storing the order ID. And then put all together inside the APM. So with only this, they get two things. The first was that they were able to track the execution of all the orders. So when the call center is asking what is happening to this order ID, you just filter all the APM data that you have. So the waterfall, all the transaction that you have, the visualization of the transaction for the order ID. You filter by order ID, and you get all the traces happened with that order ID. And so they were able to understand what was the last trace. So what was the last service that was using this order ID. So with that, then using the concept of a single pane of glass, the pane of glass of Elastic from the APM service, they were able to, for that trace, click and then go to the logs, looking at the machine logs, and to see what was happening. And then they were using the logs, to understand if there was an error or services sometimes that was crashing or things like this. So this system, to instrument the APM, was super useful for them to accelerate the resolution time, to reduce what Francois was saying before about the lowering the MTTR, the mean time to repair, and to identify immediately where the problem happened. Okay. Of course, it's not giving the solution, but it's giving you where to look for. The second things that they got is that they had the timing, execution time of each trace. So in this way, they understood in one trace, because using the distributed tracing, of course, you have all the trace, and so the distributed trace, and you see all the single transaction where of the services, and you see immediately where you're losing time. So which is the service with a longer execution time for that specific trace. But then what you can do some analytics and to find what is the mean execution time, for example, per service. So it's very easy then to identify from a statistical point of view where you're losing time. What is the heaviest service in terms of execution? So, and where you need to optimize the system in order to being more efficient in activating and executing the orders. So with just some agents collecting this data, they get that. In addition, they did some extra work with this was a custom work, taking the data out from Tibico. Since they use a Tibico as an enterprise service bus, so enterprise bus between a lot of machine services and so on, some data that were there on Tibico, so they were not. Some services they were not calling directly another service, but there was a Tibico in the middle. So the distributed tracing in that case will not work. So how you do that? So they started to take the data out from Tibico and write. This was a custom implementation, and they were writing inside the APM index. That is because the APM data are stored in a normal index inside Elasticsearch. So they wrote this information inside the APM index, respecting, of course, the APM format and with all the fields, included the order ID, of course, that was useful to correlate information. And in this way, they enriched also all the data coming from Tibico. And so with the one single dashboard, then they had all the data that they needed. That's it. So very easy. So with this implementation, they were able to answer to completely different needs, one technical need and one business need. I don't know if it's clear enough or I confused.
Thank you, Massimo. I think it was clear, and yeah, sure. If you have some question, please put in your in the chat. And but maybe one question for you, Massimo. With this approach, as we see on the screen, they modernize their, let's say, business war room in a way that to reduce and to speed up the investigation and to speed up really the resolution time of a particular case, let's say, right?
Absolutely, exactly. Is exactly this. And I was laughing inside when I saw your slide, bringing business stakeholder and DevOps together, because I remember, I tell you a small story if I have 2 minutes. This is what happened in one of the biggest bank in Italy. So they were using Elastic for log management. So they were collecting all the logs in the company. So we are talking about 12 terabytes per day of data, so huge amount of data. But they were thinking just that they were storing just logs. And they lost the control of what the users, internal users of the company were doing with this data. Because they were just putting the platform together, and then give the platform to anybody, so all the company could use it, but they were not interested in knowing what the end user were doing. One of the end user was the business, in particular was the VP of all the retail, so the guy that was the head of all the subsidiary of the banks in Italy, and outside Italy also, and reporting directly to the CEO. And these guys, they were running some reports on this data that were useful to understand what to do with the different subsidiary. So it was taking the decision what to do with the subsidiary based on this data. So one day, what happened is that they had a technical problem. They haven't loaded all the logs, so they gave a partial data. But since they didn't know that these logs were used by someone else, they haven't communicated to anybody. So the guy received this report with the wrong numbers, and he took some decision that, of course, were completely wrong. So this is then you can imagine what's happened the next, no? And so the DevOps guys are still alive, no? Are still alive, but for a miracle. But they risked their life. But this is why it's so important and is under-evaluated in the companies that the DevOps and the business, they talk each other, and very often is not happening.
Yeah, exactly. And also that was also the topic of today. And yeah, this is a great example, Massimo. Thank you very much to share that. Good. Let's go on, and because I see that the time is running, I hope, Massimo, that later there will be some question that we can answer. But from an implementation point of view, let's say, what is next, or better, what more than what is next after this meeting? Good. From what we would like to start. If you don't know Elastic Observability, first of all, learn more about our solution, Elastic Observability. You see here on the screen. Try it with our cloud. It's for free. You have a 14 days free trial, and then you can get a bit more information on our technology on the Elasticon and get engaged on our platform. But let's say once that you are already engaged with Elastic Observability on our platform, what are the next steps? And you remember, I show you already the other slide where I explain you. As I say, identify a business process to observe, identify and integrate the data, and also before we forget also to go a bit more deep about modeling the data. And here, since we are talking about Elastic, I would like to mention Elastic Common Schema, because thanks to a unified model, you will be able to do a better correlation analysis and do a better analysis in 360 degree. And then really try to eliminate the DevOps and business data silos. Really try to bring all this information together, because as I say, the data is a brand asset and has to be used in a good way. Don't keep the data secret just for yourself, because it will not help anybody. And then the most important part, be a unified winning team. Here I put a new, let's say, a new definition, DevSecOps, because it will be cool to have all these kind of, let's say, people together, talking together, and try to investigate and bring the solution together, and even more to find a fast solution in some particular case. In also one of the case of Massimo was explained. Good. What's next? Out of this, let's say, meetup, we have, and I hope that it will be also interesting for you, start to make some initial, let's say, proposal. Go a bit more from a verticality, from a business observability. And here I would like to introduce, probably they are here in the event, one of our Vantage partners, that are, let's say, already implementing this kind of solution to different customer. They have a success story to share in different industry. And yes, we would like to make a follow-up of this event in January, because now November will be a bit too fast. December, we know everybody's already Christmas in mind. Then the new year it's already coming, and then let's say try to focus to have the next event on a vertical business observability in January. And yes, not only because probably you realize today we just talk about a lot of theory, a lot of let's say nice aspect, and but with this follow-up meetup, we would like really to go a bit more inside the rabbit hole and show you what are the obstacles, what are the technical and the business, let's say, challenge that you have to bring in order to put together a business observability in different industry. Because of course, in different industry, if we start to talk about also data privacy, could be a big topic. Then yes, as I say, stay tuned. We are coming soon with the let's say vertical business observability. And say that from my side, I will like to open the Q&A session. I hope that somebody will put some question. Else, me and Massimo, we are available via email, via our contact, and please don't be shy to contact us. Also via email or other channel that you prefer to get a chat with us about this topic. And we are really, let's say, happy to share success business story and some concrete customer story as well. Having said that, I will wait a couple of minutes to see if there are some questions. Else, I would like to start already to thank you about your participation, and then yes, as I say, let help us to let help you to bring your business observability to your brand, let's say, and start to observe in a 360-degree ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Francois and Massimo, for the great presentation. For everyone who wants to rewatch the recording, it will be available on our community YouTube channel, and I will put the link in the chat now. Okay. So you can find all of the recordings from our meetups there if you want to rewatch them.
Good. Yeah, well, I see that there are no questions pumping up. Then, yeah.
You just explained it very well.
Oh, or opposite.
No, no, I think that's it. Cool. Okay, I think we can end it just on time on the hour. Thank you both very much for your time. And I hope everyone has a great evening. Thanks all.
Thank you, Dalia, for your support. Thank you.
Of course.
Bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye.